what happens once life as a professional athlete ends? As you might imagine, that transition can be hard for some. But thanks to a new docuseries, we are getting a front row seat at the lives of athletes after their pro careers. The first episode of Revolution features the journey of former NBA star and champion Matt Barnes. Joining me now to talk more about the series is the executive producer himself, Mr. Matt Barnes. My brother, thank you for joining me on theGrio.
Man, thank you for having me. How are you?
I am good, brother. First of all, I want to congratulate you on the project because this series is amazing, and I know it was inspired by your personal journey through the NBA to being an entrepreneur, to being a community voice. Talk to me about that journey you've been
on. The journey has been great. Most of the time, as you mentioned, sometimes the transition can be hard for athletes. Luckily, I'd kind of put myself in a position to, transition smoothly. And I felt like, I played 15 years, happened to win a championship with the Warriors. And I just felt like, there was other stuff that I wanted to do. One particularly being more present father and being able to do the small things with my kids. So when I made my leap, I made a leap. While I was still under contract, so I was still paid for 2 more years. So I kind of gave myself like a 2-year window to I have some investment things that I did, during my playing days that are starting to work. I have about a 2-year window to, figure out what I'm going to do. And I, wanted to be a cannabis advocate. While doing that, a friend of mine kept pushing me, telling me I was always, so well spoken in my interviews. I need to try media. Jumped in the media space and kind of unexpectedly had no plans of doing it. And from there, just so many different doors opened that I never, really even knew or particularly cared about because, again, media wasn't really my focus. But it's been a tremendous blessing since, so to be able to, play 15 years, retire, be a present father, and then still do what I love and get paid well for it.
And you've gotten really good at it, by the way. I mean, I'm sure if you watch a celebrity basketball game, you like, he can't play. It's part of like what we do. Rappers, when they listen to artists, athletes rap, they break down who can rap, who can't. When I watch people, particularly former athletes, do TV, some people I'm like, okay, they could actually do this as a career, even if they weren't famous. Other people I'm like, not so much. I've watched you transition into one of those people who can actually do the job well. What you do is stack on all the smoke. What you do, I watched your Mike Tyson. It's like you've just grown into and of course what you do with your NBA analysis. It's all really, really good. How did you get there? Was it like coaching? Did you just keep doing it? Like what was your method of like improving?
I mean, just taking it seriously. You know what I mean? I just think as an athlete, I'm naturally disciplined to wake up at 6 a.m. and, hit the weights or the track or go work out. But, although I still do work out, 3 or 4 times a week, now I can get up and prepare, whether it's sending emails, whether it's going over scripts, whether it's, creating a rundown for a show. So you just have to put the time into it. And I feel like, obviously, there's people in the space I look up to and pick their brains when I get a chance to see them. But for the most part, it's just repetition and continuing to do it. You're going to make mistakes. That's natural. Being able to continue your conversation through your mistake, being able to read people's energy. And to me, I think the biggest thing that I've learned how to do is frame a question, because I feel like, the way you frame a question is everything. Like, we can ask the same question, but if I frame it something different, I may frame it from a standpoint of I've kind of, if I haven't really been in that experience, I've touched on that experience, so I can kind of frame it to where they feel more comfortable and they really can tell a real story instead of kind of like a rehearsed story they would normally tell. So, again, just trying to be a student in this and apply myself to it, because I do want to make it a career. I've been out for 5 years and I've been in media for 5 years, the second I stepped out. So, I feel like this is something that if I continue to get better at, I can do until I no longer want to. So,
right. And then you could just make a whole bunch of documentaries and docuseries and executive produce everything, because this joint right here is fire, man. What was your motivation behind this project, and what do you want people to get from it?
Learning the process, I think. One, again, athletes transitioning. I'm really transitioning into media and content creation space, so learning how to play with the small budget, having to fire people that didn't meet deadlines or didn't do the quality work. So on the production side, I learned a lot. And then, kind of being the first one in this series, I just want people to understand that, what you see is, more than or how am I trying to frame this? To understand, really just don't judge a book by its cover, I think is the simplest way. I think there was such a narrative on who people thought I was while I played. And although, could have been right, could have been wrong. That was just the competitive nature in me. So to see the stuff I was doing on the outside that necessarily didn't get the light shine on it because it didn't really fit the narrative that I was as an athlete, kind of a thug, bully, you call it whatever you want to call it. So the give back stuff didn't really fit that narrative. So it was really just giving people an opportunity to see the other side of me, and I kind of feel like, if I can do it, anyone can do it, because I came from very humble beginnings. So just really trying to share my experience to encourage and motivate other people to chase whatever they're passionate about.
Did you ever hide intentionally those good parts of you? Like when I as an NBA fan, I'm a lifelong Sixer fan, so you would be the guy who I would boo. You would be the guy that if my team's small forward or power forward was weak or soft, I didn't want you going nowhere near him because I knew it was going to get exposed. But if you were on my team, I'd have been cheering for you. You know what I'm saying? But you weren't, which I wish you had been, but you weren't. So, to me, part of how you keep that image, people like you or Charles Oakley, part of how y'all keep those images is by not letting people know all the things you do for people, not letting people know how good a teammate you are, not letting people know, so what you give to the community. Not necessarily like you're not necessarily always by choice. Sometimes it's just how the media frames you, but sometimes y'all don't want to look too nice.
Me again, I'm me. You know what I mean? So again, I think there's a switch that turns on in the competitor in me, and I feel like that was grown and harvested from my childhood. I had a really rough childhood, so I'm a protector. I'm a competitor. I want to win, and I want to win playing basketball. But if we have to take it another route, I'm prepared for that too. So I kind of want to show people where that mentality came from. But I think just overall, when people meet me off the court, they're just like, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn at them, but people are like, yo, he's cool as shit, because I am really just laid back. I kind of stay in my lane. I'm a heavy believer in cannabis. So, I'm always kind of just laid back, focused, working. If I'm not working, I'm with my kids, coaching. And if I'm not doing that, I'm doing social justice or I'm, on TV doing something. So I'm just really kind of at peace with who I am. And I really want to show people, I guess, the other side that they necessarily didn't get to see, night in, night out for 2.5 hours, where I may have cussed a ref out or slapped somebody or did something.
Oh, I love how matter-of-factly you're like, oh, maybe slap somebody. The only person who's ever said that on this show with me ever before is Charles Oakley, so it's actually it's actually perfect. Yeah, how can people watch this series?
Man, Apple, Amazon, Xbox, it's streaming everywhere. So it's called Revolution. Again, I was kind of the guinea pig of the series. So obviously we learned so much from the experience. We look forward to continuing to get better. But we have people like Chidea Abumake, Marshawn Lynch. We're talking to Andre Ward. So we're trying to do a 8 to 10 piece series, and then hopefully have some success on this and transfer into another space, maybe music or entertainment. So again, just kind of showing people the other side of who they thought they knew.
Oh man, I love this idea, and I love the people who you've named, because y'all are all people who are bigger than your sport, more interesting than the narrative that has been presented about y'all, and frankly, who are all cool. So I can't wait to see the whole series. I can't wait to see the work you're doing. I'm so proud of you, brother. But I can't let you go just yet. I want you to hang out with me for a minute because I got some. Welcome back to theGrio. We have been talking to Matt Barnes again. He is an NBA champion, and he is executive producer of the new docuseries Revolution. Matt, one of the things I always appreciate about you, especially on social media, is that you point out the difference between how NBA players are treated and sometimes how, for example, officials are talked about. Officials will mess up a game. Nobody says anything. I go to a lot of NBA games, man, and I will watch a referee make an awful call. No, I'm talking about not just bad, but awful, change the complexion of the game bad, and nobody says a word. Why is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, and it's unfortunate, I feel like the league protects the refs more than they protect the players, because you can learn everything about us. You know what I mean? And every mistake is amplified, and it's on it's on all the highlights and lowlights and on the internet. But when refs, and don't get me wrong, refereeing is a tough job. I mean, we're top level athletes, moving, jumping, flying around, shooting, doing a lot of different things. So I don't want to discredit how hard their job is, but at the same time, it's their job. When we're bad, we get cut, or we don't get a chance to play no more. But it just seems like more of late. I mean, I think they've been infiltrating some new refs in. It's kind of a turn of kind of the out with the older Kenny Mauer now. I think Kenny Mauer has a lawsuit against the NBA because he didn't get vaccinated and he wants to, you know what I mean? So I kind of think there's a transitioning in referees right now. So there's a lot of young refs, but I think it's great. But at the same time, stepping into this, this NBA game is not easy. And I think more than ever, referee this season has been talked about, or maybe like the last season and a half, has really just been front and center. And to me, the sign of a great ref is not to notice them, not to have to talk about them. And that's how it's how it normally is. Here and there, a few bad calls, but just lately it's been really bad. And I would just love to see more transparency. You know what I mean? I would love to see it, and then obviously moderated to, what they make, but fines for, making a bad call that can cost a team a game. When it comes down to the end of the season, you lose a game you shouldn't have, on a bad call. Like, they should be, not we don't have to wait till the end of the season, but like a call that costs a team a game, because they come out with a 2-minute report where they say how many calls you miss, and that does absolutely nothing but piss people off. Like, oh, you missed this, and that. Yeah, those things cost us the game. So, I don't know. I hope that Adam Silver is able to just bring more transparency to refereeing, holding them more accountable for their actions, having their grades, public knowledge, public record. We can see who did what, who had a bad game, and because, like I said, for us, they get to see all that. You know what I mean? So they're just as important to our game than we are. So, and I would like to see more transparency.
Absolutely. Now, you are a father who is very invested in all of his children, in all parts of their lives. But the sports part is interesting to me. I'm going to be a little selfish for a minute. I'm going to ask you some advice. My son is 8 months old. So, I make him use the bottle in each hand.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm working on his dexterity, man. I need him to be able to get to the basket. I need to be able, I bump him every once in a while, when I'm taking him out the crib, just so he can get used to, hard fouls. At what age should I be really preparing? And at what age did you prepare the boys to start playing ball?
To be honest with you, luckily my twins were around me towards the end of my career, so they got to travel. They were in the locker room with Kobe. Kobe was Uncle Kobe. They were in the locker room with Lob City, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. They were in the locker rooms with Steph Curry, KD, Clay, Draymond. So they got a great grasp of stuff you couldn't pay for. You know what I mean? So naturally their IQ was really high with the game. But it was funny because I talk about this. I never wanted to be a dad that made my kids do anything. Like, I want them to be happy. I want them to excel in several different verticals. If sports is one of them, that's great. So I never made my kids work out until they wanted to do it. Like, we would go, on the side of the house and go shoot on the court, but it was never like, let's do that, like, rah, we got it. Like, I didn't want to make it a job. You know what I mean? I just, they were playing it. They were starting to get better. They had a really high IQ, and then it got to a point where, you could tell the kids are starting to work out around the 10, 11, 12-year-old age, and the boys kind of started behind a little bit. So, crazy story, for their birthday, I took them to see Kobe out in Orange County for their 10th birthday, worked them out. And for some reason, that lit a switch. Like, he worked them so tough, he made one of the twins cry at the end. It was hilarious.
That sounds like him.
Yeah, but that switch kind of turned on. And it would be, sometimes they would want to work out, so we would, but then sometimes it would die down. So he lit the fire, and then I'd probably say, like, they're 14 now. I'd say like around 12 and a half, they're like, Dad, we want to start training. So that's when I put them in place with a great basketball trainer, and then people that do footwork and agility stuff. And again, I didn't want to make it a job because I actually coach them too. So I'm in the AAU circuit, and I see how some parents have their kids working out 5-7 days a week and making it a job at this age. And I just, to me, that's, to each his own, but I feel you're going to burn your kid out. So when they have the passion and the love to want to do it, that's when I kind of applied myself. So to answer your question, I guess I never really pushed them in it. Like, once they were in it and they wanted to get better is when I stepped in.
See, everybody, Matt Barnes is making me sound like a psycho, right? Because if Matt Barnes is basically saying I'm too intense because I'm teaching my son to set screens at 2 years old or something,
my kids got that because I think they're twins. So my kids are rough, and then I got a 4-year-old coming down the pipeline too, who's the baby. We have 6 kids in our household. My 3 biological and 3 bonus. So, my kids always get that. So I don't mind you if that's your first and only. You got to rough them up a little bit. You got to show them, life ain't easy. You know what I mean? So,
what? I have girls, but they're grown now, and they didn't want any part of basketball. Man, I tried, but this one I'm not letting go of. Were you kind of socializing playing basketball because you were tall? Like, was it one of those things like you fell in love with the game and then somebody trained you, or was it like, yo, he's tall, we're gonna make you play ball, and then you fell in love
No,
with
I
it?
actually, growing up, played every sport: football, baseball, basketball, and track. I did all four of those in high school. And football is my first love. I was, All-American, number one receiver in the country my senior year, recruited to go to any school I, really wanted to. But I felt at that time, like I kind of started making a transition, not more towards basketball, but knew that basketball was going to be an option when I just kept growing. So eighth, ninth grade, I grew from like 5'10" to 6'4", and then by my junior year, I was 6'8". So although I played both sports and did well in both sports, I just figured there was going to be more longevity in basketball. Although football is what I was naturally better at. So when I went to UCLA, I chose just to do basketball and focused on that. And it wasn't an easy journey, but it was, it was worth it and it was fun. But there's not a day that doesn't pass where I think like, damn, what if you would have, took the football route in college too and got a chance to, play in the NFL? Because again, football was my first sport. That was my primary love growing up.
I don't know, man. I don't know if you're aggressive enough for football. No, I'm just playing. Hey, I got to take a break, man, but I need you for 2 more minutes. Everybody, stay right here. After the break, I'm going to do a quick game called This or That with the basketball legend, Matt Barnes. Stay right here. Welcome back to theGrio. We have been talking to NBA champion and executive producer of the new docuseries Revolution, Matt Barnes. All right, Matt, we're going to play this game. It's called This or That. I'm going to give you 2 topics, and you just got to tell me which one you prefer. Like sports, man, quick instincts, no thinking. You just got to go. All right. First response, Steph Curry or LeBron James?
Steph. Steph.
Steph, ooh, okay. Memphis Grizzlies or Golden State Warriors?
Golden State.
Kobe or MJ?
Kobe.
Sixers or Knicks?
Sixers.
Eagles or Cowboys?
Eagles.
Oh, okay. See, I'd have had to end the interview if you didn't say Eagles over Cowboys. So you said something that's interesting to me, and I'm fascinated by it. You said Steph over LeBron. Why?
Because I play with Steph. It's really the only reason. Obviously LeBron and his greatness is continuing to be on display at year 20. I got a chance to play with a lot of great players. Didn't get a chance to play with him, so that's a tough. But I didn't know if it was what we were talking about, whether hierarchy of the game or just who am I taking?
Either way, I don't think there's a wrong answer. I think LeBron was the obvious choice for so many people. It was the only choice you could say. But Steph is, 4 championships in the high level he's continuing to play at. I think you can make a case for Steph on lots of levels. And then you said Kobe or MJ. Is that also because you played with Kobe?
Play with Kobe, and I can't say that Kobe's better than MJ, but I think I can say that Kobe was more skilled.
Thank you for joining me on the show, man. Thank you for the work you've done. Thank you for setting an example of the possibilities for athletes and for being a voice in this world, man. I've watched over the years, you, my brother Stack, a lot of y'all, raising your voices, using your platforms, taking risks, being unafraid to speak the truth, even when there's something at stake.